The sixth episode of New York's Finest, of Season 2 of the show, begins with the four special investigators brought back together on a playground not too far from the scene of the warehouse explosion that concluded the previous episode. In fact, we can see the emergency vehicle's lights reflecting in the cloud of smoke directly behind them. They are discussing the kind of explosives that the person who laid the trap employed. Nevertheless, everyone except their leader Reacher believes that person to be Tony Swan, a former comrade. Reacher restates, "I'm not going to assume Swan's dirty." Detective Russo stops by to inform them that the bomb building's analysis reveals a proficient saboteur, possibly with military experience, set the explosives. Additionally, the police have located the vehicle belonging to Marlo Burns, the CEO of New Age Technologies who, in Episode 3, ambushed the special investigators and, in Episode 4, ran away from her house, leaving it abandoned, north of Manhattan. Russo tells the squad not to leave a trail of dead in their wake but declines to travel with them north. O'Donnell remarks, "He looks like that irate, sour detective from that movie." "Which one?" Neagley queries. "Everyone," says O'Donnell. The writer's room was empty at this late hour. Cut to our four heroes inspecting Marlo's vehicle, which appears to already have a number of parking fines on its windshield. Reacher surmises that Marlo probably went to a nearby convenience shop for a bite before figuring out where to get a ride. The crew sees Marlo and her preteen daughter Jane on the convenience store's security camera stream right away, so it's not just Reacher becoming irritated. Not even do we get to witness them intimidating or bribing the young person working the register to share the footage. Reacher remarks that Neagley is not the squeeze-in type, despite the child's invitation to crouch next to him for a closer look at the grainy, low-resolution black and white screen. Besides, all she can see on the security footage is Jane's Nintendo Switch. Neagley believes that she may return to the Burns residence, locate Jane's gamer tag on a smart TV or other connected device, and utilize the IP address of the place from where Jane is playing to ascertain Jane's exact position. "It seems reasonable and close to me." Reacher remarks that Neagley is not the squeeze-in type, despite the child's invitation to crouch next to him for a closer look at the grainy, low-resolution black and white screen. Besides, all she can see on the security footage is Jane's Nintendo Switch. Neagley believes that she may return to the Burns residence, locate Jane's gamer tag on a smart TV or other connected device, and utilize the IP address of the place from where Jane is playing to ascertain Jane's exact position. "It seems reasonable and close to me." Despite Mahmoud's best efforts to wriggle out of the ticket, she is forced to run his license, which assures her downfall. By the time her operator radios her back, he has already stabbed her and told her that backup is on the way, that the license she had recently checked on matched to a victim of homicide. It's just another airball and lifeless scenario meant to bolster Mahmoud's shidil status. No matter how many cosmetic surgeons or policewomen we witness Mahmoud Shiv, Ferdinand, son of Ben Kingsley, can never quite make him a memorable, vile monster. At Casa Marlo, the gang settles up, and Neagley gets ready to play video games all night long. That is, until Jane appears on the internet. Reacher complains, "I can't believe people actually play this shit," while likely passing the lengthy bus ride reading a novel or gazing out the window at our wonderful country. Neagley warns Reacher that a first-person shooter may be his target. He responds, "I am a first-person shooter." Then again, so are all of his pals. He declares that he will go to bed while Neagley operates the joystick. However, no sooner does he take himself to Marlo's bed than Dixon enters the same rented boudoir and helps herself to Reacher's. She claims that she is anxious because she has been shot at so frequently and so recently. She takes off her blouse and climbs on top of him, albeit scaling would be a better term to use. She gives a half-hearted apology for breaking his frequently repeated "sleep when you can" guideline. Reacher claims that the rule isn't all that strict. That will be judged by her, am I right? Detective Russo, played by Domenic Lombardozzi, is going to have a huge episode this week. He pays Lieutenant Marsh a visit at his house to inform his former mentor that, as far as he is aware, in Episode 4, Marsh set up the special investigators to be slain by the motorcycle gang in Boston, obviously Toronto. Marsh was the one and only other person who recognized where they would be, and Russo didn't sell him out. Marsh disputes it until Russo brings up the events of 9/11 and informs his supervisor that by encouraging terrorism, he is sullying the greatest police force in the world. At last, Marsh acknowledges his remorse, admitting Russo he's been assured that none of the missiles changing hands while he looks the other way will be used in the United States. Because he was afraid that standing up for what was right would get him killed, Marsh accepted a payment to keep New Age security chief Langston informed on the special investigator's work, similar to how Russo's grandfather was slain for accepting a bribe. Marsh is portrayed by Lombardozzi and Al Sapienza, a veteran of both cop shows and The Sopranos, who chew through this cliché pile-up with more than competence. Returning to the Burns home, Reacher and Dixon forego the smokes in favor of a post-coital nostalgia for their time in the army. It's unclear precisely whose memory we've been viewing as the flashback begins with a close-up of Dixon and ends with a glimpse of Reacher in the present. This has been a problem with the flashbacks all season. We never quite know which member of the team is doing the remembering. With all of them save for Reacher now convinced Swan has betrayed them, there's an opening here for some Rashomon-style narrative trickery, with Swan behaving differently in the memories of different people. Showrunner Nick Santora has not availed himself of this opportunity. Reacher is not interested in the subjective nature of truth and the soft lie of memory, though it wouldn't surprise me if Reacher had read Marcel Proust on one of those long bus trips. In Reacher, the idea of a courageous, incorruptible, monstrous guy shattering bastards' hands or cracking open their skulls is fantasized. The freedom to possess nothing but a toothbrush and to be free from one's own monstrous conscience is the central theme of Reacher. In any case, the flashback depicts Reacher being let down by yet another authority figure, just like Lieutenant Marsh, Russo's mentor, had let him down. While he and Dixon are engaged in some sexually charged paperwork, Lieutenant Colonel Hortensfield, their commanding officer, stops by the office and gives them the order to end Operation Kite Runner, the significant heroin bust the team has been working on for the past 2 years. A drug trafficking network within this command would bring shame to its top officer, a colonel who is set to get a promotion he has been waiting for a long time. Hence, the colonel has instructed the special investigators to end the investigation rather than tarnishing his reputation with a widespread scandal. All of the troops who have been implicated up to this point will only get light punishments. Everyone will be discharged with honors. The big fish that the special investigators chased will be free to keep pushing the envelope with all the resources and equipment the US Army has to offer. Reacher eats this garbage pill, but it won't take long for him to spit it back in the colonel's face, as we can see. Returning to the present, Reacher admits to Dixon that he has been considering the execution of Operation Kite Runner. For a split second, it appears like Dixon reads Reacher's unusual moment of introspection as an inquiry about whether they would continue to share a bed if the present relationship ends. She then switches to the type of pillow conversation Reacher wants, remembering who she is speaking to and expressing her gratitude for everything he has done for her recently as well as over the years. She will thus carry out the nasty task of murdering Swan when the time comes. Yes, that's right, foolish boy. Return to your slumber. Needley storms in, telling them she's located Marlowe and Jane in a house that's less than an hour away. When the team has Marlowe at gunpoint in the garage, Curtis, the buddy who has taken her in under the impression that she is running from an abusive partner, doesn't call her out until Reacher threatens to shoot him in the leg. The humorous chant of the moment is, "Shut up, Curtis." What a strange name Curtis is. I wish the team had come up with a less intimidating technique to approach Curtis because he seems like a successful homosexual man who is neither a weapons dealer nor a terrorist. Even yet, they continued to operate on the presumption that Marlowe, whom Curtis was hiding, was a member of the plot that has been dislodging their old allies in the 110th, in spite of Reacher's many cautions against making assumptions. Marlowe subtly collaborates with Reacher to attempt to figure out why so many of the Little Wing guiding chips that New Age was producing were being returned as defective, and she succeeds in persuading him otherwise, possibly because she maintains that Swan was a decent man and Reacher still wants to think so. Thus, they may be written off and sold to Mahmood for a cool $65 million under the table. Marlowe claims that she only agreed to give over the bag of cash that Dixon and Needley discovered at her home in order to persuade Langston, the crooked security head for the New Age, that she wouldn't cause trouble for fear of his hurting her and her kid. She phones Langston at the team's request and makes plans to meet him in a location chosen by Team Reacher that is conducive to an ambush. To keep the child safe, they must first place Jane in Russo's custody. The location Marlowe assigned Langston for their rendezvous turns out to be a bus and semi-truck parking lot, exactly the kind of isolated yet treacherous area where a Reagan-era shoot 'em up, or a 2020 streaming tribute to movies from that golden age, would come to an end. After Reacher and Needley enclosed them, Dixon and O'Donnell had taken up positions on the upper deck of an open-top tour bus with the intention of killing Langston and his goons. It is understandable that Langton doesn't see this as a setup right away, but he quickly comes to that realization when Russo phones Reacher to inform him that he and Jane are escaping automatic-wielding shooters as they are pursuing at a high rate of speed. Reacher leaves Russo alone to deal with Langston and his 3 yeggs, ordering the other 3 of his allies to go aid Russo. After that, there's a hilarious scene of Batman-style ninja skills where Reacher, who the show had reminded us was 8 feet tall and 300 pounds, a few scenes earlier, somehow manages to hide his Chevy Suburban-esque bulk inside a passenger bus, effectively allowing him to surprise, disarm, and kill 2 gunmen who go inside looking for him. As though he were Pennywise the Clown from Dickies, he pulls the 3rd under a passing truck. But Langston escapes him when he's saved by many other shooters on a chopper, which Reacher, another massive target, bursts from cover to shoot it ineffectively with his handgun. This man is brilliant, until he acts like a complete moron. Furthermore, with Dixon, O'Donnell, and Marlowe in the car with her, Needley is somehow pursuing Russo's somewhat ambiguous instructions to intercept him. She makes it to Russo's unidentified location just in time to take down the final shooter. The child is secure. Russo, however, cannot be held in the same light as he valiantly covered Jane's escape despite taking 2 bullets to the chest. The honest police officer raises his bleeding hand and quietly begs Needley to accept it. This is a character trait that she frequently reiterates and is even more basic than her love of video games and sugary cereal for breakfast. Needley hesitates a beat before grabbing the dying man's hand and giving it a forceful squeeze. It's the most moving scene in this ridiculous series thus far.